Welcome back to my channel. I'm Sonnet, the owner and creator behind Sonnet's Garden Blooms, and in today's video we are doing a December Makers Box video. So even if you don't have the Makers Box, definitely watch this video for inspiration. But let's go ahead and first start unboxing what is inside. Every month when you get the Makers Box, you're gonna open it up and find a postcard. The postcard has a lot of information on it. First and foremost, it always has a bit of inspiration for you. And this month, when you open it up, it says, the November Makers Box is a reminder that the joy of brightening others' lives becomes, for us, the magic of the holidays. On the back, you get a little bit more inspiration. Christmas is a season of not only rejoicing, but of reflection. And that is from Winston Churchill, friends. So let's go ahead and start opening up the goodies inside. The card also has the QR code, which is for this video. And it also has all the items in the box. And every month, I get to have so much fun curating all the items in the box. So first and foremost, I start with the two paper makers, and I started this month with Roycycled. Royce from Roycycled Treasures. She does custom design 2 exclusive papers that you can only find in this box. Now, I gave a sneak peek on my unboxing of one of the papers, which was this beautiful plaid. And let me tell you guys, I am going to hoard some of this for myself. I'm absolutely in love with it. You're gonna see in today's video, I used it in a lot of projects because it goes with so much. So this is, I actually don't even have these memorized yet. This is called Holiday Plaid, you guys. So it is absolutely gorgeous and I loved it. The next one here, I'm going to show you in the video what it looks like, but it is called Christmas Project Blocks, and it has 4 amazing prints on here. One thing that I did discover this month with our holiday open house over at the Yield Goat, a lot of pictures sold that had Santas on it. And that is jam-packed full of Christmas. It's got some Santas, it's got all kinds of good stuff. So you guys are gonna love that. Now, Connie from The Painted Photographer, she designs 2 exclusive papers as well. And hers are called Cozy Cabin. Oh, you guys, this is so good. Look at this. And I always ask her to make a 3-up for me. So one of the designs that I choose, I always say, put on a 3-up so you guys can do 3 different projects. And you're gonna see how I use this one in today's video. And then the other one is called Potted Pine Tree. And she knows how much I love galvanized. Oh gosh, you guys, this is so good. I love it. I love all the colors in there as well. So once I get those sent over to me and I can see what colors that they worked with when they created the papers, then I get to start picking the colors. And that is where I have so much fun. So for Connie's papers, I always try to pick items or pick colors from the DIY paint line. So you get 2 colors, and this month you'll get Monet's Garden, which is a beautiful green, and you'll also get Marquee. And this is definitely by far one of my favorite holiday colors. So those are the 2 colors from DIY Paint. You then also get 2 Fusion Mineral Paint colors. And I then grab Royce's papers and I try to pull out 2 colors from Royce's papers. And this month I chose Highlander, which, oh, you guys, this is another one of my favorite holiday reds. And this might be my new favorite color. It's called Everett, you guys. Oh, it's a beautiful green and I love it. I haven't worked with it before, so I chose it because it looked so beautiful with all the colors in the papers, and I think I might paint a dresser. I might actually paint a dresser that color because I love it that much. Now, I also always pick a color from Sweet Pickin's Milk Paint. And this month I chose truffle. I was trying to say truffle and chose at the same time. But it is a beautiful, like creamy, almost like a mushroomy color, and it looks amazing with that plaid paper, you guys. The other thing I always do is I try to curate one item for you that is like the extra little bonus. And this month I chose velvet ribbon. Red velvet ribbon to be exact, and you ended up getting a yard of ribbon. So that was in the box as a special little bonus as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the projects.
For project one, I recently thrifted this little tote or wood crate, and I think it was handmade. Actually, after I examined it, it was definitely handmade. They filled in all their nail holes with wood filler, but then they never sanded it down. So I'm taking my little scraper, I'm scraping off the excess wood filler just to prep it so it's ready for paint. The November Sweet Pickin's Milk Paint color is Truffle. And you guys, if you haven't played around with the milk paint yet, it is so easy. Don't be afraid. It's a 50-50 mixture. So 50% the powder, 50% warm water. And if you even have a little less water, that's okay. You just don't want too much water because you don't want it to be too runny. So I do a 50-50, take my whisk and I whisk it up really, really good. And I kind of make it like frothy. Then I let it sit for roughly 10 minutes and it should be the consistency of a melted milkshake. And then at that point, it's ready to use. And the one thing that I love about Sweet Pickins is its unpredictability. So sometimes you get the best crackle and the best chippiness, and then other times you don't. And when it is a raw wood, it really does not crackle and it does not chip. It just has the most beautiful, smooth finish. I hear so often that customers don't want any brush strokes at all. And with Sweet Pickin's Milk Paint, you will not get those brush strokes at all. Plus, you're able to sand it even a little bit more silky smooth if there are any imperfections in it. So sometimes with the milk paint, there can be little chunks and you just smooth that or you just sand that and it just is like a smooth, buttery finish. And Sweet Pickin's Milk Paint is also very heavily pigmented. So typically you only need one coat. Now, because this is raw wood and you can see some of that grain, I did go in with 2 coats and it had beautiful coverage. Now that it's completely dry, as you guys can see, the coverage is absolutely amazing. My vision here is I am going to take that plaid paper, yes, the one that I talked about how obsessed I am with. Honestly, you guys, I think I could put this on virtually everything for the holidays. I love it. My vision though is I want to just take a little piece and put it on both sides of this crate. I want to leave the rest just the truffle color, and what I'm going to do is probably like distress it a little bit, but I'm just going to get that applied and then we're going to go from here. I'm using liquid patina, which is definitely my go-to decoupage medium. And what I like to do, and this really helps applying the decoupage paper, is I line it all up. I actually pull the top back and I lay down my decoupage medium. I mist the paper to activate the fibers in the paper. And then I lay the paper down, I use my paintbrush, and I smooth out the paper. And this really helps give me better control over my paper, and it eliminates a lot of the wrinkles. So by doing this, and plus you can guarantee your paper is not going to hopefully move because you have it in the spot that you want. And by putting a starter strip down with that initial strip of decoupage medium, it will prevent the paper from moving because you'll have it in place. And then I just work my way down. After the decoupage paper's completely dry, and that is the key, then I take my sandpaper and I sand away the excess. Next, I decided to use cast iron, and this is from one of our past makers boxes. I love that all the colors can continue to be used in future projects, but I really think the cast iron is just going to pull this whole project together. I felt like the front needed something, and so then I pulled out Yuletide from IOD. This is from their holiday release, and Yuletide has 2 full rows of these birds, you guys. Oh, they are stunning. I would get just this transfer for these birds, and the cardinals in there as well. But anyways, I love it. I think it was the perfect fit for this. And if you haven't used a transfer before, they are so super easy. You peel off that back, lay down that transfer. And what I do is I always start on one end and I rub, and then I just start peeling back that top sheet. And you can always see if a little bit of a transfer doesn't come off, lay it right back down, rub, and it will go right on. And after you're done, then I always just take that sheet and rub it all over the transfer. And that is called burnishing, and it really helps embed that transfer to your project. The very final step is that you want to seal the transfer, but you also want to seal the Sweet Pickins milk paint. And I'm using Big Top from DIY, and I'm just applying one even coat of Big Top to the entire piece, and then this project will be complete. For project 2, I found this, and I believe I got this at the regular Goodwill. I think it was like $1.99. I was trying to think if I actually found it there or at the bins, but I was so undecided whether or not I wanted to keep it as is. I kind of liked that farmer's market on there, but the yellow was kind of faded. So I don't know if they had it outside, but what I eventually decided I was going to do today is we are going to paint this Highlander from Fusion Mineral Paint. And what I did is I cleaned up the entire piece really well. I washed it all down, and I am just going to apply 2 even coats of the Highlander to the entire piece. And it does have a really good coverage. This isn't a slick surface, and typically once your paint cures, it is rock solid. So as you can see, the first coat is going on a little thin, and that's what you want to do. You want nice, even, thin layers versus having super thick layers. It really helps alleviate brush strokes. While that's drying, here is the Christmas project blocks from Roycycled. And look at these images, you guys. Are they not just so good? So it's kind of nice with Roycycled paper. You can use the whole image or you can use chunks of it. I have decided I am going to just use that wreath and the number 25. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut that chunk of the paper out. I am going to use the water method where I take a paintbrush and water and I am going to trace around the outside of that wreath, and it's not going to be a perfect cut. Sometimes people like to have that perfect scissors cut. I want it to be more authentic looking, so we're going to use the water method. I just take my paintbrush, I have a little water on there, and as you can see, I'm just tracing randomly all around that wreath. And once I get it completely wet all the way around, I then am going to start tearing the paper, and it tears very easily. Nothing to be afraid of. You're not going to tear your image or anything like that. Typically, when the tissue type paper is wet, it tears very easily. And as you can see, I just start on one side and then I just work my way around, and it's very natural looking. And that is exactly what I like. Now, after I get that all tore out, because I'm applying this to something that's red, it will definitely blend if I would just apply it as is. So I am taking White Swan from DIY Paint, and I am going to paint the back side of my decoupage paper. I'm going to let it dry, and then we're going to apply the piece to that red pot. And so often, if you want your piece to pop, you just paint your piece white. But because it's like a randomly weird shape, there's no way that I could paint that circle perfectly on that container. So by painting the back side, it does the exact same thing. I'm pulling out my decoupage medium of choice, liquid patina, and then I'm taking 2 containers and I am going to hold this pot in place. I'm definitely going to make sure I have it right in the center. You want your piece to be completely centerized before you start applying your paper. So I lay my piece of paper down and then I figure out exactly where I want it. I pull the top back, and now if you see, this actually has some little ribs on the pot, and that is going to be a little bit more difficult to go over. So you want to make sure that when you start laying your paper down, you start right on the bottom side of that first rib, and then take your paintbrush and then just start smoothing it out. And that's what I would recommend. Once you get that down, that's going to be your starter strip, and then work your way all the way down. After I'm done, I just take a baby wipe and I wipe away all the excess around the edges, and then this project will be complete. For project 3, I cut a ton of these a couple years ago, and I'm still working through them. I painted half of them black and half of them white, and it was such an easy project, and I love having them always on hand. So I am using Connie's paper, and we are going to make an ornament out of this. So I cut out one of the chunks, and because it is black and wood, I want it to really pop off of that. So I'm painting the back side with White Swan from DIY. I'm going to let that dry very thoroughly, and then we're going to decoupage it on. What I like to do is I want to place it first, so I want to figure out exactly where I want it. I'm using liquid patina, which is my go-to decoupage medium, and once I get it in the spot that I want it, I pull the top back, and then I'm going to start applying the liquid patina. Because this is a wood round and it really likes to suck up the liquid patina, what I'm doing is I'm applying it a little bit thicker than I normally would. And I smooth it all out, I flip the bottom up, and then I do the exact same thing on the bottom half of the ornament. I'm going to let this dry very thoroughly, and then we're going to come back and we're going to complete the ornament. Now that it's dry, we can sand away the excess. So I'm just using a piece of sandpaper that I had lying around, and in a downward motion, I am going to sand the excess off. And it's very easy to do this. It looks like I'm struggling, but I actually wish I had my sanding block. I just ran out of them, but as you can see, it came out perfect. Now, my initial thought was I probably should just drill a hole right where that hole looks like it's in the ornament. And then in the end, I just decided to take a little eyelet and put that in the top. And I think that worked out really well too. So I just screwed it on in, took my scissors, sometimes I use a pliers to get it all the way in. And then the red ribbon that came with your maker's box is the perfect accessory to hang this on your Christmas tree. So I just fed that through, and then I tied a knot, and then on the very top I did kitty corner trimming to make it look a little bit more fancy. And then this project is complete, and it's perfect for your Christmas tree. For project 4, anytime I'm out thrifting, I'm always grabbing wood bowls, wood plates like this, and I found these at the bins, and I paid probably pennies for them because they're very, very lightweight, but I didn't know what I wanted to do with them until today. So I am using Marquee from DIY Paint, and I am going to paint the back side of these wood plates Marquee, and I'm going to let them dry very thoroughly. I'm just doing one coat because Marquee it's so heavily pigmented that all I really needed was one coat. Now on the front, I have decided I am going to add the Plaid decoupage paper, and because I really want that to pop, I am going to use White Swan again, but this time instead of painting the back of the paper, I am just going to paint the wood plates White Swan. And again, just one even coat, let this dry very thoroughly, and then I'm going to show you how I apply the decoupage paper. This surface is definitely not flat, so it's going to be a little bit more tricky. The first thing that I do is I cut out each square. I want to make sure that I have enough paper to cover each of these plates. I want a little bit of an overhang because the plate itself, like it goes in. It's obviously a plate. So when I apply the paper, it's going to like curve with the plate. So I want to make sure I have enough paper on all 4 sides. I'm grabbing my liquid patina and getting that ready. I am also grabbing my misting bottle because that is going to be key for this. By misting your paper, it activates the fibers in your paper and it helps eliminate a lot of the wrinkles because it expands those fibers. So I figure out exactly where I want the paper. I want to make sure, like I said, that there's a little bit of an overhang on all four sides. That way, when I start applying it, because it's going to be dipping down on the plate, that when it pulls a little bit, that it doesn't, where I don't have enough paper on one of the sides. So I am applying one even coat of the liquid patina. I've misted my paper, and then now I go in and I start spreading that out. I just take my paintbrush and I work out all the different little wrinkles. In the end, there were a couple wrinkles I could not get rid of, but it actually looked very cool and made it appear like have a little bit more character, I guess is a good way to put it. But overall, I was very happy with how these plates turned out. Now that both plates are dry, we're going to get rid of that excess paper. And again, I'm just taking a piece of sandpaper and in a downward motion, I am removing that excess paper. And by doing this, it just gives you a really nice, crisp, clean edge all the way around the plate. Initially, I was planning on adding words to both of these plates, just something like holiday-ish, and then Yuletide was sitting there, you guys, and it was just calling my name, and I decided I wanted to add the cardinals to one of the plates, and then as I was going through, I'm like, well, maybe I should add that wreath, and so then I decided to add the wreath to the other plate, and I just think they both look so stinking cute and would be perfect for anyone's holiday decor. So I just pulled off that backing and started applying to each of the plates. And you guys, I think these turned out so stinking cute. What did you guys think? The final step is I'm using Big Top from DIY and I am going to seal both the plates. And anytime you apply a transfer to a project, you do want to seal it to just give it some added protection. So I'm doing that, and then on the back side, I still have to seal marquee. So after I apply this on the front, let it dry very thoroughly, I'm going to flip them over and then I'll seal the DIY paint as well because it can be reactivated until it is completely sealed. And you guys, I think these turned out so cute. For project 5, when I was digging at the Goodwill bins, I found this, and you guys, it was this shape. I even liked the color. I had thought about just putting it in my booth as is, and then I got the idea that I wanted to change this into more of a holiday decor type piece. So I am using Monet's Garden from DIY Paint, and I'm just going to apply one even coat of Monet's Garden to the piece. Initially, I was thinking about maybe distressing it a little bit to bring that blue out. And then in the end, I just decided I was going to kibosh the whole blue, and I'm just going to go all in with the green, no distressing, because I had a few other ideas. Because Connie's paper does come up as a 3-up, and I've already used half of it, I decided I was going to use the other half. And I thought initially I'd use the big one, and then I decided, no, I'm just going to use the small one. And my initial vision was very different than what I ended up doing. So my initial vision here is I was going to leave a lot of the very top of it white, or like that creamy in the background. And I was gonna take, like my paintbrush, and I was gonna do the tearing method with the water. And I had this whole vision, and then I laid it all out after it was tore, and I just didn't like the way it was looking. Yes, it wasn't applied yet, it wasn't sanded back, but I thought I just didn't like it. So I was actually going to, kibosh this whole project, and then I came up with a secondary idea. The first thing I decided to do was flip it over and paint the white, or the back white. And at this point, I had not realized that I was kiboshing this whole vision. I'm still going through with it at this point. So I'm painting the white back, or the back white, because I wanted to pop off that green. I laid it down, and this is when I determined I did not like my idea. I didn't like the vision. So what did I do? I went in and I cut it all out. And I think this looks much more streamlined. I really think it looks super cute. And then I decided I was going to actually cut the top off a little, and I was going to line it up with the hole because I'm going to make it look like it's hanging from there. And then I'm going to use the red ribbon, which comes with the maker's box on this project too. So I am starting to really love this project. Once I get it all figured out where I want to lay it, I'm using liquid patina, and I'm going to apply the piece of rice paper with the liquid patina. So I place it where I want it, and then I just start on the top, and I get like a starter strip, and then I work my way down. Now, you may not know this, but liquid patina is actually a top coat as well. And Big Top has a little bit of a sheen. Liquid patina is a little bit more of a matte finish. So once I get this down, I actually seal my entire piece with liquid patina, let that dry, and then my project continues. I initially was like, okay, I'm going to be done. And then as I was looking at it, I felt like it was missing something. So we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to show you what I came up with. Now that it's completely dry, and as it was drying, I was looking at it and I'm like, the green is screaming bling. And what I'm thinking is like something gold. And I thought the gilded transfer would be perfect. So I wanted to add just a little bit of the gilded transfer to the front. And then after I did that, I'm like, it feels like it's missing something. So then I also added a bit of the gilded transfer around the hanging globe. And I think that really pulled it all together. And I really love this gilded transfer with Monet's Garden. I think it looks absolutely stunning. The other thing I want to mention is these gilded transfers. Many are saying that they're having some problems with it, that they feel like they don't get a good transfer. These are a little bit different than your standard transfer. What I recommend is starting on one side and then working my way over, just like I do with a normal transfer. You don't want to have a real super heavy hand when you're rubbing. So very lightly, you just have to be gentle. And then when you lift up, you can look to see if some of the gold has not been transferred. Lay it right back down, just like you would with a normal transfer. Give it a little rub and it goes right on. Now, these are not meant to be like absolutely perfect. They are really meant to be like, if you actually look at the gold transfers themselves, they do look a little bit distressed and aged, and that's kind of what they're supposed to look like. So I am loving it. For project 6, while I was at the Goodwill bins, I was digging through a bin and I found this, you guys. I loved this frame, the beautiful, it's just so beautiful. I loved all that detail, and I wasn't even really hating the actual color. But then when I decided what I wanted to do with the frame, that's when my vision for the color changed. I decided to paint the frame Everett, and it is a beautiful like greenish color, and I definitely want to paint a dresser this color. I think it's going to be gorgeous, but I applied one even coat to the entire frame. Then once it dried, there was just a couple spots that still peeped through a little bit of gold. So I applied a secondary coat of the Everett. The key is to apply thin, even layers, and that is exactly what I did. The coverage is really good, but it did have, just like I said, a couple little spots. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to show you what we're going to put inside. I have people call me all the time asking me if I want free stuff, and in many cases, I always say yes. So this is one of them. I had someone give me a call and say they had a bunch of this, like it was actually for floors. It's the underlayment, and they had just a bunch of pieces, and I'm like, I definitely can use that. So I've had it in my storage unit, and every time I want to put it in a frame, I just pull out a piece and I cut to size what I need. And that is exactly what I did here. So I cut it down to the size of the frame, and now I'm using white swan, and I'm going to apply a nice even coat of white swan because guess what? We're going to use a piece of decoupage paper and we want it to pop. And I'm also using just a little bit of my misting bottle to help spread the DIY paint. It's a clay-based paint, and sometimes it can get a little like really thick if it's been in the container for a little bit. And I think I must not have had the cap on right, and so it kind of dried out a bit. So I'm adding a bit of water and making this go a little bit further. I'm using Royce's Christmas Plaid, and I'm going to apply it to the board. That is going to be my first layer of decoupage paper. So I am going to use liquid patina. I'm going to use that to apply my starter strip. Just a really nice even coat of liquid patina. I'm going to mist the paper, and then I'm going to smooth it out and then work my way down. And I do this on all the projects, and I know I talk about this a lot, but I know that eventually there's going to be somebody new that watches a video and they won't have a clue what to do. And so I always keep reiterating exactly what to do. So this is what I found to be the easiest way to have better control over my paper and to eliminate wrinkles. While that's drying, I'm going to take DIY's dark wax, and I just want to add a little bit of dark wax to this frame. I think just by adding that on here and getting that into the nooks and crannies, it's just going to add a little bit more dimension to the frame. I initially thought, should I do white? I really didn't want white. I wanted more like dark. So like I said, I'm applying it over the entire frame. I'm going to wipe it back with a piece of paper towel, and then I'm going to set this aside, and then we're going to go back to applying a secondary layer of the decoupage paper. So initially, I was actually going to use the first picture that I pointed at. Then I flipped it over. I saw this. And I'm like, I think I'm going to do the Santa instead. And I thought, well, maybe because the red in the paper, but I thought that Santa, like the one on top, the Everett really made that pop. So then I cut out both because I was so torn, you guys. I wanted two frames. I wanted to have two of them that I could use them in both. And so I am on, well, I have a ton of frames. So I'm going to go into my stash of frames and I'm going to find another one. I almost said I was going to be on the hunt. But so I set this one down and I looked at this and I really liked it. Then I set this one down and you guys, I like this too. I think this looks really great as well. But it was the red in the very first one. I think that I thought it would go way better. I don't know. This one was screaming my name. So guess what? Season's greetings, it is. The first thing that I need to do though is I need to paint the back white. I'm using White Swan from DIY Paint, and I am going to just apply an even coat of White Swan to the back. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to apply this over the plaid paper, and I really want this to pop off that plaid paper. The paper is dry. Now I'm pulling out my liquid patina. I line up exactly where I want this. And actually, I laid it down, you guys, and then I thought, well, I'm going to grab a ruler. And I had actually put it right in the center. It was 3 inches on every single side. I was like, wow, here I thought I had a crooked eye all these years. And honestly, I got it right perfect the first time. So what I'm going to do is now that I have it exactly where I want it, I'm going to lay down a nice even layer of liquid patina, and then I'm going to smooth out my paper and then work my way down. And once it's all the way down, then what I do is I just apply just an even coat of liquid patina over the entire piece, and then I'm going to let it dry. For project 7, I actually have quite a few of these. I picked them up at a rummage sale and I loved the look of them. The patina on these boards were just beautiful. I did find out though what they were truly intended for. So people trap and then they take the pelts of what they trap, and these are they're basically for fur, and they like stretch the pelt. So I have been repurposing these one by one, and initially I thought about painting it, and then I'm like, I don't want to cover up that beautiful patina. So instead we're just going to apply a little piece of the plaid decoupage paper, and honestly this was like the last little chunk and it was almost fits perfect, and I thought, well, I'll have a little bit of that wood peeping through around the edges. So I took my paintbrush and I wet it and I went around and I kind of just randomly traced where I thought I would want to kind of cut it, and I just started tearing. And initially, also, I was going to have that hole be on the top because I thought that would be fun to have it hang off of something. And then after I saw the shape of the tree, I'm like, you know what? I am actually going to turn this around and we're going to use this totally different than what I initially had even thought of. Now I'm taking liquid patina and I am going to start by applying the first piece of the decoupage paper. And after I did it, I kind of was kicking myself. I'm like, no, I'm just going to not paint the back of it white. I want it to blend a little bit. And then I applied that. But then the second piece, I did paint the back white because I wanted it to pop off of the plaid paper. And I'm wondering if I should go back in and kind of tone the second piece down a little bit with like a dark wax. So in the comments, you guys, let me know what you think. Here I'm going in and I'm painting the back of that paper like I mentioned. And what that does is it really helps your decoupage paper, like I said, really pop off of whatever surface you're putting it on. The last thing I'm doing is I'm applying the liquid patina on the project again, and I'm applying this last piece. But here you can see, doesn't that really stick out like a sore thumb? So I'm wondering if I should add that dark wax to kind of tone it down. The last thing I decided to do was out of the transfer called Crimson Velvet, I decided to add a little star to the very top of the tree. So it's just a little transfer, and I think it finishes this whole project off. I was also contemplating, do I put something that says like, oh, Christmas tree? But sometimes simpler is better.
What did you guys all think? I absolutely love that plaid paper. As you can clearly see, I used it in virtually almost every project. I am going to definitely making more signs for my booth with that paper. So the one thing that I should mention, all you subscribers of the Maker's Box, the perk that you get is I always order extra papers. And as long as you get the next month's box, you get the chance to order extra papers. So if you love the plaid, or if you love the Santas or the tree or what have you, you can order any extra papers and there's no shipping because they will ship in the next month's box. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, if you haven't been part of the Maker's Box yet and you want to, I will have the waitlist link listed below. So each month there are always some that do cancel, and with those openings I have a wait list and you can squeeze right on in from the wait list. So what I do is on the 26th of every month, I send out an email to everyone on the wait list, and that is your opportunity to snatch up one of those spots. So next month, I've already curated the entire box, and you guys, it is so good. One of my really good friends, Cindy from CNC DIY Factory, her and her husband, actually, I reached out to them and they created something for my box. So every month, you guys, it's just gonna get better and better and better. And you don't wanna miss out because, like I said, the papers are exclusive only to the Maker's Box. So I'm just super excited for the Maker's Box and, you know, creating this amazing DIY subscription for all of you each and every month. So if you want to get in on next month's box, the only way, if there are any openings, is to get on the wait list. Well, in the comments, you guys, let me know what was your favorite project, and I cannot wait to hear what you guys think of the box. All right, well, we'll see you soon, and have yourselves a great day.